Hey there, today I want to talk to you about buying vacant lots in the city of Cape Coral, and even frankly, if you're not interested in buying a vacant lot in Cape Coral right now, there's going to be some really useful information in this video on how to check for various things. So if you're maybe buying a single family home, there's still going to be some useful information on this, but we're going to talk about lot sizes here in the city of Cape Coral. We're going to talk about some important environmental and endangered species restrictions that you should be aware of and how to check for those. And we're also going to be talking about utility assessments. I'm going to wrap up this video with some information on the current pricing for vacant residential lots here in the city of Cape Coral. If you're not familiar with who I am, my name is Dustin Guthrie. I've lived here in the city of Cape Coral for almost 20 years now with my wife and our 3 little kids. And I've been a full-time real estate broker here in Cape Coral in Southwest Florida for about that same amount of time, almost 20 years now. And to do a video like this every single week where we're just giving you some really good, useful information. If you are interested in the city of Cape Coral, maybe you're interested in moving to Cape Coral or moving to Fort Myers or something like that, I think you'll get a lot out of these videos. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Try to give you a lot of really great information with these videos, just in the hopes that when you do need a realtor, maybe you're going to remember me and reach out. And of course, my contact information is right there on the screen. It's also down in the description of this video. Call, text, or email me anytime if I can help you. All right, let's get right into this. Cape Coral vacant residential lots. All right, so the first thing you need to be aware of when you're looking at vacant residential Cape Coral lots is the size. Now, for whatever reason, back when they platted out the entire city of Cape Coral decades ago, they platted it out into individual 1/8 of an acre lots, and it works out to be about roughly 40 feet wide by 120 feet deep. Now, the thing you need to keep in mind, and most of the lots that are out there for sale that are advertised as residential vacant lots are actually 2 of those lots, and you need 2 of them. You need 2 contiguous 1/8 of an acre lots like that in order to be able to build one single family home on that lot. So you might run into a situation where you're seeing a lot out there, a vacant residential lot that's super cheap, and it's 1/8 of an acre. Maybe it's $20,000, $25,000. What you need to be when you need to keep in mind when you're looking at that is you're not going to be able to do anything with that lot. You need 2 of those. You need a double lot, and most of them that are for sale out there are a double lot. Works out to be about 1/4 of an acre, or about 80 feet wide by 120 feet deep. A little bit less than that sometimes, 0.21, 0.22 acres or something. But if you're seeing a lot that's 5,000 square feet or about 1/8 of an acre, that's probably just one single platted lot, and you're not going to be able to do anything with that because you need, again, 2 contiguous ones in order to be able to build a home on those lots. Now, sometimes you'll see some larger lots and they're advertised as triple lots, and they are triple lots. They're triple platted lots, so there's 3 of those 1/8 of an acre parcels. But that doesn't mean they're 2 buildable lots, or 3 buildable lots rather. Basically what it works out to is it's about 50% larger than the average single buildable lot in the city of Cape Coral. Works out to be about 1/3 of an acre instead of 1/4 of an acre. So just be cognizant of that. You don't see them too often, but you do see some on the open market there where they're listed super cheap, and you can certainly go out there and buy that 1/8 of an acre single platted lot, but you're not going to be able to do anything with it once you have it. So just keep that in mind. The size is very important here in the city of Cape Coral. So the next thing you need to keep in mind when you're shopping for vacant residential lots in the city of Cape Coral are environmental restrictions. When you go to build on that property, is there anything in there that's going to either prohibit you from building a house on that lot, or really cause you some heartache and some extra costs? And the main things we're concerned about with there regarding environmental restrictions are 3 main endangered species that we have here in the city of Cape Coral, and that's bald eagles, number 1. Number 2, gopher tortoises. We have a lot of gopher tortoises here in the city of Cape Coral. And the 3rd one is some of our favorite local residents here, and that's the burrowing owls. So sometimes you'll be out there driving through neighborhoods, you'll see a lot of these white pipes sticking out of the ground with maybe a little wooden cross next to them. Those are burrowing owl nests, and if you have a vacant lot and they have those nests on there, whether they're tortoise nests, owl nests, or you're within a certain radius of a bald eagle's nest, you're going to run into some environmental restrictions there. There's going to be some barriers to constructing a single family home or constructing really anything on that lot. And so you need to be aware of those. And certainly when you're shopping for a vacant residential lot here in the city of Cape Coral, you need to make sure and do your due diligence to make sure you either know that those environmental restrictions are in place and what to expect with those, or you're not blindsided by a lot that maybe has them on there. So I want to show you exactly how to look up if there are environmental restrictions on a specific lot that you're looking at, and we're going to take a look at that right here. So thankfully, the City of Cape Coral makes it relatively easy for us when determining whether or not there are environmental restrictions recorded with the city on any particular vacant lot. So what you're going to do is go to the city's website, capecoral.gov. The home screen is going to pop up like this right here. You're going to walk over to the little tab here that says I want to, and scroll down to where it says Find. And in this case, you can get there by going to Assessments and Payoffs, and what's going to bring up is this little sheet describing the Cape IMS site, and that's going to get you actually a few different things, but we'll just start with the environmental restrictions. Just click Start, and then you can search by address on this website right here. I picked out this one just because I know there is an environmental restriction in place on it, so let's look at this 1540 Northwest 28th Avenue. Here in the city of Cape Coral. If you search that, this one's actually on the Coral Oaks Golf Course over here. It's a really nice vacant piece of land right there overlooking the fairway, and it's going to come up just like this, and you've got a couple different options with links right here. The one we're concerned about right here is this property restrictions. You'll see this link next to it that says Run Report. If you just click that, it very simply brings up the property warnings and notes on this piece of land, and it says right here that we're within the Eagle Zone. The Eagle Zone in this situation, if a lot is within 1,100 feet of an eagle's nests, you can only do heavy construction during certain times of the year, and actually if you're within 350 feet of that eagle's nest, the city might not let you do any construction whatsoever. So this is very important. It's probably one of the more serious environmental restrictions that we can see on any particular piece of vacant land here in the city of Cape Coral, but this particular one is within that 1,100 square feet, and so there's going to be some restrictions on when you can move some heavy equipment in there. You're not allowed to do that during nesting season, or you can pay an ecologist to go in there and put a plan together for you to kind of circumnavigate the restrictions that are in place on that. But this is exactly how you search for those restrictions. If this property had, let's say, a tortoise nest or an owl's nest or something like that, it would pop up in this page right here, and you'd be able to determine whether or not this was going to be a good idea for you. Maybe if you were looking at building a property in the near future, if it did have those restrictions in place, maybe you're going to be better served to look elsewhere. Or maybe if it's a longer term hold, you can kind of hold on to it, especially if you're getting a good deal, because there are ways to kind of get around this, especially for the owl's nest and the tortoise nest. There are ways you can pay an ecologist to go move those. The tortoise nests, you can't do any construction within 25 feet of those tortoise nests. The owl's nest is a 10-foot radius. So if you're going to be building something, maybe if that owl's nest is in the corner of the lot and you're well away from 10 feet of it, you won't have to do anything. But oftentimes you're going to probably have to relocate those animals, and there's a process by doing for which you can do that, but it's obviously a costly process, several $1,000s, depending on the species and depending on how many nests you have. But this is a really useful tool that the city of Cape Coral has put in place, and again, it's right on their website, capecoral.gov, and you can look at that map, search by address, and pull up whether or not the city has any restrictions registered with that property or not. It's a good tool to have for us here in the city of Cape Coral. All right, so the utility assessments, they're on top of mind right now, certainly for a lot of people, and they are going into certain sections of the city, and you need to be aware of them, whether you're buying a house or you're buying a vacant lot. And really, the biggest driver in the differences in costs between lots right now in certain areas are whether or not those central utilities, those central water and sewer infrastructure is already in place in those neighborhoods, and whether or not there's still a utility assessment balance on that particular property, and whether or not you as a buyer are going to have to assume that cost. Now, the utility assessments right now that are going in the northeast area, certain parts of the northeast areas of the Cape, they add up to about $34,000 right now. And whenever you get hit with those, if you are a property owner in one of those areas, first of all, they're going to bring that utility infrastructure in. They're going to tear up the roads and put those pipes and all that kind of stuff in. And then you're going to be required, if you already have a home there, you're going to be required to hook into that. If you have a vacant lot, you don't necessarily have to hook into that until you build a house there, but you are going to experience getting hit with those utility assessments. And like I said, they add up to about $34,000 right now, and you can pay those off all at once when you get hit with them, or you can wrap those into your tax bill over the course of 20, 25, or 30 years. Now, if you do that, you're going to be paying interest on top of that, and it's going to be added into your tax bill at a rate of about $3,000 or $4,000 a year, depending on how you take that. So you're talking about a tax bill that's going to be possibly $4,000, maybe even a little bit more than that every single year. That's a significant cost that you need to be aware of, and that's really one of the things that's driving the biggest cost differences between lots in, let's say, areas of the Northwest or Northeast where they don't yet have those utilities yet, versus maybe something in the Southeast or the Southwest where those utilities are already in and the assessments have already been paid off. You're paying in many cases double for those lots that have the utilities in place with the assessments paid off versus the areas that don't yet have those utilities in place. So keep that in mind. And as we're going to show you right now, I'm going to show you exactly how to determine whether or not there is an assessment balance on that, and if so, what that cost is right now. So let's take a look at that. So determining an assessment balance left on any particular vacant piece of land, or any piece of land, really, it doesn't matter if it has a house or not on it. It's virtually the same process that we just used to look up environmental restrictions. You're going to go to the city's website, capecoral.gov. Once again, here's the home screen. You're going to go to I want to, and it's going to pop up this tab. Just scroll down here to find, click on that, and then you're going to want to hit this assessments and payoffs link right here. And once again, it's going to bring you into this Cape IMS page right here. You just click start. It'll take you to the Cape IMS map. And then once again, it's the same exact process that we just did for looking up those environmental restrictions. We're going to put in a property address. In this case, I'm going to put in one that I know has some assessments on it. 1115 Northeast 4th Place. This is in the section of the city where the utilities just came through. So these properties just got city water and sewer. You can see on this satellite map, they've already had the roads torn up. So these roads are already paved over at this point because the pipes are already laid, the roads are repaved and all that. But this obviously was taken when they had those roads torn up to put that infrastructure in. But same exact process as the environmental restrictions. It's gonna pop up this window right here, and you've got a couple different options here. What we're concerned with is this estimated loan payoff. What they're talking about with that loan payoff is the assessments loan that's on the property right now. So in this case, any balance is going to be wrapped into their tax bill. Again, it's probably $3,000 or $4,000, maybe a little bit more than that per year, in addition to what the costs were beforehand, what the average taxes were. It's actually part of your non-ad valorem taxes, it's considered. And if you click that, then here's what comes up. So these are all of the charges that go into those utility assessments. And if you add all of these up in this estimated payoff amount right over here on the right side, if you added those totals up, this would come out to about $34,000. And again, you can pay that off all at once and then you don't have to worry about it again, or you can wrap it into your tax bill over a certain number of years. But if you do that, you're going to be paying interest on top of that. And like I said, it adds anywhere from $300 to $4,500 or so a year onto your tax bill. So it's a pretty significant cost that you need to be aware of. The good thing about this particular lot is now this has access to central utilities. So if you build a house on this lot, you're not going to have to dig a well. You're not going to have well equipment. You're not going to have to put a septic system in there. You can just tie right into the city's central water and central sewer infrastructure there. But of course, that comes at a pretty significant cost. So this is an important tool, just like the environmental restrictions. We have it available to us here, to the public, on the city's website. Definitely make use of that, because you definitely don't want to get blindsided by $34,000 that you're walking into buying a lot where you might not have known that assessment balance is in place. So make use of this tool, because it's very, very important to keep an eye on that. All right, so now we've learned how to navigate some of the pitfalls of buying a vacant residential lot here in the city of Cape Coral. What can you expect to pay for those lots? Well, that's really a little bit like asking what you plan on paying for a piece of meat. Obviously, a filet mignon is going to cost a little bit more than ground chuck, and it's no different for vacant lots in the city of Cape Coral. It really just depends on where you're at, obviously how big the lot is, whether or not that lot has central utilities already in, and whether or not those assessments are already paid off, whether it's on a body of water or it's a dry lot, not on a body of water. And if it is on water, what type it is, whether it's Gulf Access Canal or maybe a freshwater system. So they're kind of all over the place. We're just going to speak in generalities right now. The last few months, the lot prices have been relatively consistent. They actually have been consistent for the last couple of years, and our demand, if you've watched these monthly Cape Coral market reports that I do every month on this channel, you know that the demand is significantly down this past year for vacant lots, at least compared to the last few years, the previous few years. So like 2023, we're selling about half as many lots last year as we did in 2023, and that entirely has to do with the fact that there's not as many builders out there building as many properties as they were back in, say, 2023. Just with the resale values of homes right now, they've come down to the point where it doesn't make as much financial sense to build a brand new construction home unless you just really prefer that and you're willing to pay a little bit more to have that brand new construction product, which plenty of people are, just not as many. But in terms of the prices right now, just across the entire board, we're around that $50,000 mark, and we've really been there on a month-to-month basis for the last couple of years in spite of that reduction in overall demand. But let's break that down a little bit. If we're talking about a lot that's in the northern areas of the city that maybe is in an area where that central utility infrastructure has not come into yet. So if you're buying a lot up there and building a house on it, you're going to be digging a well and putting a septic system in there. Those lots are selling, off-water lots up there are selling around $40,000, maybe high 30s. Again, it kind of depends on whether or not it has those environmental restrictions on it or not, as to whether or not that's going to fall under that $40,000 mark, but pretty consistently around $40,000 up there. Again, for the non-utility city, or the non-utility areas of the city. If we're talking about south of Pine Island Road, where again that central utility infrastructure is already in place and those assessments largely have been paid off down there, those values up there are getting like $95,000 on average. So again, over double what you can expect to pay in the northern areas of the city, again, where those utility infrastructure hasn't come into yet. We're seeing a lot more sales up there in the northeast and the northwest, and that's entirely because there's just so many more available lots up there versus the southeast and the southwest, where sort of that development happened years ago and there's not as many vacant lots available. But again, wide discrepancy between the northern areas of the city and the southern areas of the city. If we want to talk about waterfront lots, up in the northern areas of the city, they're really not that much more than the off-water lots. The average price for a freshwater canal, at least up there, is about $46,000, maybe a little bit more if it has a seawall in place. You don't have to have a seawall if you're building a house on a freshwater canal, but they're nice to have. And last time I checked pricing on that, it's probably mid to high 20s for a seawall on an average size lot up there, but you're really not getting that return in terms of what these lots are selling for with those seawalls in place. They're about $60,000 up in the northern areas of the city. So again, $46,000 on average, $60,000 maybe if it has a seawall on it. In the southern areas of the city, that bumps up to about $105,000 for an average freshwater lot down there. Maybe if they have a seawall on it, you're up to about $125,000, $130,000. If we're talking about Gulf Access, obviously that's the marquee property type that we have here in the city of Cape Coral, Gulf Access canals. Obviously with boating access out to the Gulf. Those values, again, range widely depending on how far away from open water you are. If you're 45 minutes, hour and a half away from open water, those can get under $200,000. We're seeing some of these Gulf Access lots sell for $180,000 in some cases. Most of those don't have the seawalls on them in place just yet. If you're down in the southwest or the southeast, those usually bump up into the low to mid 200s. Again, it just has entirely to do with how close to open water it is. We've seen sales for Gulf Access lots get up into the 400s and high 500s, and usually those are maybe on a bigger lake or something like that, a Gulf Access lake. So, I don't mean to kind of wiggle around with the pricing on it, but it just really, really depends on a lot of different factors. Just an average lot up in the Northeast that's not on the water, you're probably looking in the 40s, low 40s, maybe high 30s. That's pretty much what the majority of the sales that we see are right now. But again, if you're down in there in the central utilities area, if you're on a body of water, whether it's freshwater or Gulf access, the pricing is just kind of all over the place. So it really just depends on what you're specifically looking for. And certainly if you are looking for a vacant lot, I'd be more than happy to help you navigate that process. My contact information is right on the screen there. And would love to hear about your specific situation and what you're maybe looking to build on down the road. And we can kind of determine where you're going to be best suited to be placed. If we're going to look up in the Northeast or the Northwest, or we're going to look down in the Southwest or the Southeast, or on a freshwater canal or a Gulf access canal. You've got a lot of different choices here in the city of Cape Coral, but that's going to pretty much wrap things up for me today. This was kind of a quick video I did. It was rainy outside today, so I did it in the office, so no sunshine today. But thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate your time. If you got anything out of this video, and hopefully you did, do me a favor, hit the like button. It just helps me out, helps the channel out. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not subscribed. Again, I do one of these videos every single week, just try to give you a lot of great information, solve some problems for you, because I know if I can do that, then you will remember me when the time does come. And you do need a realtor here anywhere in Southwest Florida. It doesn't have to be here in Cape Coral. I'm in Fort Myers, Bonita Springs, Punta Gorda, wherever. Would love to hear from you. Reach out, call, text, email me. Beyond that, thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next video here in just a few days.
Like and subscribe. Just kidding.